I'm Lynn Bartle, and I'm the Director of Resident Life at Judson at University Circle. And I've got to tell you, my passion is education. I was a third grade teacher upon graduation from college and thought that I would always be a teacher. And so when I stopped teaching to raise a family, I became involved in educational related things with children. I helped create the children's theater series at Playhouse Square in Cleveland, and got involved with fundraising for a museum that I soon became Director of Education and Development, and then Deputy Director. They called me Deputy Dog, and I loved it. My heart and soul were in this project, but I knew there was something beyond that that was very meaningful that I needed to pursue. I didn't know what it was. And so when I left that position, agreeing to volunteer in the future, I knew something special was waiting for me. And 3 weeks later, Judson came to me and said, "Lynn, would you be the director of the Eden Alternative?" And I said, "What's that?" So I went online and I started to find out what this philosophy called the Eden Alternative, which affects life learning in older adults, was. And I knew right then and there in February of 2002 that that was my calling. And I had no gerontology in my background, and I couldn't believe that was my path. But I followed it, and I have learned myself so much. But I guess what's so important is that we never stop learning, and that has been so exciting for me to work with older adults and still many children in intergenerational projects. Judson has 6,000 student visits a year approximately, and that involves about 30 institutions or schools or organizations on a continuous basis that builds relationships. And that's the key to it all. And that's really the key to the Eden Alternative philosophy, which looks at long-term care as an opportunity to build companionship and totally balancing care, giving care, not just always getting care, and the spontaneity of relationships. It's culture change in an institution that used to be very institutionalized and still can be. And so this has been my challenge, to work with older adults and children and continue the learning process. It's so much fun, and I guess the important thing is that you never say never. You know, it never stops. There's always somebody that has, a new idea to try. And I love the story about a woman that wanted to drive. She no longer was driving because she was blind. And this was not at Judson, this is in another place, but I just love this story. The staff came together, a team meeting, and said, how can we make this happen? And so lo and behold, they went and they reserved the local amusement park and took the residents to the bumper cars, and they had a ball, and she drove along with anybody else that wanted to drive and fulfilled her dream. And of course, there were there were many, many stories, to tell afterwards. Stories, I guess, are the mainstay of what the students and I have learned, from the residents. It's amazing what these residents had to share, and building relationships is a very, very special thing. I guess it just opens up a whole new vista for both parties. I'm thinking about our smart living concept that Judson is kind of our byline. That smart living is taking charge of a successful aging experience and having choices and in engagement, and stimulating your mind. And that's lifelong learning, that these residents are challenging themselves and sharing it, along the way. And I guess the important thing is that the staff, rather than saying, well, we've always done it this way, which, in an institutional, especially a clinical setting, can happen so easily. The staff, and the staff that we're looking for, is willing to say, let's try it. Let's do it differently. And let's listen to the residents, not be on our schedule, or our frame of how life in long-term care should be. But let's listen to the residents and what's so important. And so they're taking charge, and that's lifelong learning. That is really leading the way in long-term care. So I must say that 6.5 years later, I've never felt so fulfilled in my life, and I still love working with young children in the auspices of the older adults, teaching and helping them, and that balance of care there, is there, and everybody's learning. That's my passion.